Learn how to create server level audit in SQL Server. We'll be using two ways to do it: SQL Server Management Studio graphic user interface and using T-SQL script. There are two kind of audits in SQL Server world. One is SQL Server instance level audit and other is SQL Server database audit. In this particular video we'll be creating a SQL Server level audit. That means that we wanted to capture all the events that happen on a particular SQL Server instance, not the database. So when we talk about creating an audit, we are basically configuring audit to capture some specifications, which all the events that happen on SQL Server instance, they are basically normally called audit specifications. So audit specifications are the object of audit. First you have to create an audit, and you give name, you need to give the target of the audit. You can store it in file, and there are different targets of audit, and then you create certain specifications to store in that particular audit file. If certain events happen on SQL Server instance, you can go ahead and capture those instances and put it in that file. Later on you can do a lot of stuff on that particular file. You can send that file to auditors, you can send that file to your DBA team. So there are a lot of usage for the audit. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and create the audit in this particular video, and then in next demo we're going to go ahead and create the specification and relate to this particular audit. So let's go ahead and create the audit. In order to create the audit, you need to connect with SQL Server instance. I'm connected with SQL Server instance using Management Studio, and once you connected with your SQL Server instance, in my case is Tech Brothers client, SQL Server Mirror is my instance, and you expand the SQL Server instance and you go to the Security tab and expand the Security tab, and up here you will see Audit and Server Audit specifications. These two run together in order for us to have a successful audit. So first, in this video we're going to configure the audit so that we can go ahead and put all the specifications, or in other words, in simpler words, all the events that we wanted to capture in this particular instance of SQL Server. We can go ahead and configure that. So we're going to go ahead and right click on audit, click on new audit. Keep in mind this audit needs to be created before you can create the server audit, because the reason I'm saying that, there's no use of creating server audit specifications before you basically create an audit. So we're going to go ahead, it won't let you save unless you have an audit to point to. So this is, I'm going to do is basically create login failed. This is my audit name. So in this particular audit, what I would like to do is any login failed to this particular instance, I wanted to capture that. And up here is a queue delay. Every time it happens, it's going to wait for 1000 milliseconds and check that again. If that event happened, it's going to grab and basically put it in your target. So on audit log failure, we have a certain actions right here. We wanted to continue the audit, we wanted to shut down the server. There are some very critical audit scenarios, especially in organizations like banks and insurance companies, that if something happened, a certain event happened, you don't want your server to be up. You would like to have the server go down, and make sure that maybe it's a security threat, somebody is trying to delete something that you're not supposed to. So this is very important right here, that you can shut down the server, or you can, whatever the operation that particular user is trying to do, fail that operation. And up here you have audit destination, as I was talking about. It's also named as targets. So you have a target file, you have a security log, you have an application log. This security log and application log is your operating system. If you go to your SQL Server log, you will see that you can access the security log, and you can access the application log, and all those events will be actually shown in those particular logs. But my recommendation is please always use file, because sometimes there are other stuff, default events happen that goes in security and application log, and you might have to dig down way deeper to find what you're looking for in that particular log file. So I would always go ahead and put my specific audit logs into my own file, and after that I can go ahead and filter what I'm looking for. So we're gonna go ahead and click on file, and I'm going to give file name right here, actually the path. So this is the path I want it to create the file. And maximum rollovers files, this means that if it reaches to a certain size of the file, it's going to create another file and release the previous file. So this is very handy when it comes to we don't want to basically keep it limited. We're going to go ahead and do the number of files, whatever you wanted to do that. So this is just the demo purposes, so I'll keep it the maximum rollover file unlimited, but you can specify how many files you wanted to create, and it'll keep obeying you on your setting. So maximum file size, if you uncheck this, you can have the file size. If you wanted to file 1 gig, let's say I want 1 gig file, and after it goes to 1 gig it should create another file, and that's the specification. This is very important right here, that if you do that, because you don't want to put audit file somewhere and run out of space. You might want to move your files somewhere in a shared directory and delete the file locally if you're putting somewhere here. You can put a UNC path here, by the way, if you need to. So filter right now is not available because we really don't have a captured data so far. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. As you can see right here, the login failed audit is created. Keep in mind, whenever you create audit, it is by default disabled. In order to enable the audit, you need to right click and click on enable audit. Nothing will happen until you enable your audit, and same with server audit specifications. So once it's enabled, you can come here and basically view the audit logs, and also you can go to the specific target file that you have created and look at the audit file. So I'm going to go ahead and basically delete this and use our T-SQL script to create same audit. So let's go ahead and load our script. I'm going to basically delete this one as well. So let's load our T-SQL script. Create an audit. It's not really difficult right here. I'm going to go ahead and take this out. So I'm going to go ahead and this is my audit. This is the audit name, and I'm going to go ahead login failed audit, and file path is right here. Maximum size, I'm going to go and do it 1 gig. So maximum rollover files, these are how many, so I'm going to go ahead and do it 10, and reserved disk space is off. You could basically go ahead and put 1 MB right here, and it'll not go more than 1 MB, but you will run into a lot of errors if you don't give enough space for this. Delay is every 1 second. This is milliseconds, keep in mind this is in milliseconds. And on failure, you wanted that to continue. If you have basically a requirement to shut down the server, you can also shut down the server or fail the specific task. Whatever is the action being taken place on SQL Server instance, you can go ahead and fail that. So we're going to go ahead and create this. As you can see, the command ran successfully. Let's go ahead and take a look. As you can see that it's not enabled, so we're going to go ahead and go into properties. As you can see, delay. As you can see, the file name up here, number of files 10 we configured, and up here is 1024 MB, which means exactly 1 gig. You can also in the script you can put 1 GB right here, or TB, however you wanted to do that. So basically this is how you create an audit. By default the audit is disabled. You can go ahead and click on enable audit, or you can write you can go ahead and basically use the T-SQL script and enable your audit. So this is how you create it. And